The once sizzling real estate market locally has experienced. You didn't like that?
No, I liked it.
Oh, there you go.
I'm liking it because I like you.
It's experienced a significant change in the last month, and here to talk about that is our favorite friendly realtor, Steve Peroff of Keller Williams. Thanks for joining us, as always, Steve.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Steve, it's interesting that the landscape of real estate has changed really dramatically over the last couple of weeks. It's always changing. Can you fill us in on really the specifics of what's happening?
Yeah, always a new day in real estate, I tell you. Yeah, some factors affecting a much needed correction in the marketplace. I've reviewed everything over the last month that things have since the announcement that the government put out. But there's been four sort of main changes. One being the increased number of listings as sellers try to capitalize on higher prices, trying to, sell at the peak. We now have, I think we have a chart here on the items affecting the market, and the second one shows the increased number of listings that we see on the marketplace. Last year, I believe, this time there were about 125 listings. We now have over 400 listings on the marketplace.
And is that just locally, or?
That's just Georgina.
Wow.
Just Georgina, yeah. So right now we have 426 active listings as of yesterday, which is up 297 from a year ago. So we have a glut of inventory sitting on the market right now.
Right.
And half of that inventory are people that don't necessarily have to sell, but they would like to in order to get high prices. At this point, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. And there's going to be an adjustment.
So if we go back to the previous, we've got...
So then we come to the government intervention, the announcement of the new rules, which was basically designed to eliminate or slow down the investment that was going on. A lot of those investors were investing in York Region because our prices were lower than the greater Toronto, or then Toronto area, I should say, and many of them stepped into Georgina. So right now, York Region is taking a bigger hit as far as losing buyers or investment buyers more than Toronto is. The third item that affects the marketplace is Home Capital. Home Capital is a B lender. They're the largest secondary lender in Canada, and they trade on the public stock exchange. They had some lending policies that were changed a couple of years ago, but during that time they had some problems which the media brought out. They were all resolved, but the media brought them out this year, which created a run on the sale of their stock, which left them with less money to put out to mortgages. So that put a lot of pressure on other secondary, smaller mortgage companies, and that also then put pressure on buyers not being able to get mortgages. So that's nixed some of those buyers from the marketplace as well. And then, of course, the fourth thing, which is, if you go back to the first slide, which is the buyer resistance to multiple offers and these higher prices. I think that alone probably would have stalled the market in and around the end of April almost on its own. But the four things together contributed to where we're sitting today, which is a much slower market. If you go to the last slide, you'll see the sales change there. We had 77 sales in January, 99 in February, 208 in March, 174 in April, and then we fell to 90 in May.
That's crazy.
And over 50 of those were in the first 2 weeks. I think it was 60 of them were in the first 2 weeks of May.
Now, we had talked before about those changes that the government had put in place to help out the real estate market, to slow it down to, I guess, not expected to the degree that it's at right now. But that was right at the end of April.
April 20th.
That had happened.
Yeah,
and
April
then,
20th.
So now you're finding that almost people had waited maybe waited too long to sell their homes?
Yeah, I mean, if they would have come on the market earlier, they would have had a much better chance to selling high. And but right now we have a glut of listings, which is slowing down the markets. Our inventory is way high, and our buyer demand is much lower. I think what will happen is that those people that don't need to sell will likely come off the market when they realize that they're not going to get the high prices that they were hoping for, because they're not motivated to sell. And then you'll find that
they were just trying to take advantage of, making a little bit of cash off of their home.
Right. But so the supply and demand then becomes more balanced again. And I think going forward, once we get that adjustment, I don't know when that's going to happen, but hopefully within a shorter term, we'll get a more balanced market where we'll see more modest growth, which is the way it should be over a longer term.
Wow. Well, I mean, essentially, you're saying it's it's more of a reactive. A reaction to the changes.
Everything sort of happened at the same time, and everybody took a breath at the same time, and they're still holding it.
Yeah.
So
it'll break eventually. Yeah. Now, I mean,
and also just one other point to add there. May stats haven't come out yet, and once they do, I mean, we're going to see a decrease in volume for sure. We probably won't see too much of a decrease in pricing at this point, but we'll see a decrease in volume. But people will see also that there are people selling and buying real estate, and then that will bring them back in the fold as well.
Yeah. Do you find that people are possibly waiting? I mean, people who have families and children, if they're going to move out of an area or into an area, do they generally tend to wait until after school is over? I mean, will we see an influx at the end of June when, they're not taking kids out of a school year? Yeah,
well, people that need to sell or want to sell for school reasons, if they're moving from one community to another, will be doing it now. That's usually why we see such an influx of activity in the spring, because if you sell today, you're likely going to close after the end of June when school's over. You finish school, and then you're moving into your new neighborhood before the beginning of school.
Thanks again, Steve, for coming on today, lending us your expertise. Stick around, because we're going to be learning about singing bowls and from Universal Sky. That's coming up right after this.